Hi, welcome back to another TerranScapes video. This video is to do two things. One is to do the drawing for the camera fund drive. I just want to thank everybody who contributed to the fund drive. It really helped me to cover some of the expenses for all the gear that I've purchased for my videos going forward now. And I also wanted to take some time in this video to share exactly all of the stuff I'm using for all of my video and photos going forward from this point, as I do get questions from people about the camera that I'm using, the software that I'm using to edit things. And so what I would do, what I would do is give a brief rundown of all of the gear that I'm currently using, software and all of that, hopefully to help other people in their own video production if they're interested. I do not have the fanciest videos on YouTube by any means, but if people are looking at my videos and they're interested in my quality, or at least want to compare the kind of quality I'm getting, and they're interested in some of this gear, they can use that as a comparison, as I've looked at several dozen videos reviewing a whole variety of microphones and lenses and a lot. So if you're interested only in the drawing, I'll put a link right here to the drawing section of the video, and you can follow that link and skip all of the gear talk. But if you're interested in exactly what I'm using now, which is also some of the things that my fund drive has helped to purchase, then let's get into the list. So first I just want to talk about the lighting. I do think lighting is probably the most important thing for videos. It's probably the first area I see a lot of people falling down on in video production. I'm currently using the CowboyStudio light umbrella set. Now I bought these as a pair, but now I can't seem to find that exact set. They sell it now as a 3 set with 2 umbrellas and a fill light. They're nice, they're relatively inexpensive. I have one with a reflective umbrella and one with a semi-transparent one. And I'm using ALZO bulbs, ALZO bulbs. Those are a higher light output per watt bulb than the bulbs that come with it, which are Lumens bulbs. So I've shifted exclusively over to ALZO. I bought a bunch of 24 watters to use as fill lights, and they both have the same color rendering compared to each other, but I think the ALZO bulbs are just higher quality. So that's what I'm using for my lighting. I have 2 lights here. I've done a lot of research on lighting. I'm trying for a 2-to-1 light variation with a fill in the back to hopefully put a little contrast on the old, hairline here. So anyway, that's what I'm doing for lighting. I got a new tripod. I am now using the Vanguard Alta Pro ball head tripod, and let me just say that I was using a very inexpensive travel tripod I bought several years back, and upgrading your tripod is huge. I can't say enough about how much I enjoy using the new tripod rather than dreading taking it out and hooking up things to it. I wanted to get a heavier duty tripod to handle the larger camera weight, and assuming that I upgrade the lenses and things like that for my own personal photography, I wanted something that was going to be rugged. The Alta Pro tripod has a wide variety of configurations that can be set in, including a horizontal position, which I'd like to use to shoot flat areas of terrain in the future, sort of like a boom, if you will. So this is a fantastic tripod. It's mediumly priced as far as tripods go, and if you've been overlooking your tripod, I recommend you not, as it can make setting up your videos a lot more pleasurable. The ball head joint really allows a lot of flexibility in lining up the shot very easily. I'm also using DGK Color Tools Balance Card Set. I'll get that out. This is a series of 3 color cards, a white, a black, and a neutral gray, and these are used for setting the white balance in your videos. The nice thing about using the new camera that I have for video is now I can set the white balance in it, which I could not do in my old camera. That was a Sony Bloggy, and this will allow me to get better color rendering on my terrain shots, which to me is, pretty important. So this was a useful card set to get. It's relatively inexpensive. They're the slightly larger cards. They're like 3x5, 5x7 maybe, I think. And You can use the black and the white in the shot as a pre-shot to check whether those are true white and true black, and use the neutral gray to determine the white balance using your camera settings. I'm not going to get into how to do that. Plenty of videos out there. But if you have a camera that can do white balance correction, you should always be doing, especially in an indoor shot like this, you should be doing white balance correcting. I actually was using a Canon PowerShot A620 prior to this upgrade, and I never used, here I am, you should always use it, and I never used the white balance setting because I didn't understand how to set it. And when I got my new camera, I was like, oh, well, I don't know, that looks, how come I can't set it on the A620? And then I figured out how to do it. For 5 years plus, I'm using the A620, and I never set the white balance. A lot of color correcting in my post photos, post editing of the photos. Take a minute, get out your manual, learn how to set the white balance on your camera. Don't do what I did and spend 5.5 years not using your camera properly. So anyway, color cards. Then I also purchased a large roll of salvage seamless white background paper. If you've been watching my videos in the past, I have normally I put up a white bed sheet as my white backdrop, and there are a lot of problems with that. One is that it usually needs ironing, and ironing it is a chore. Also, it is gaining stains over time, and those are not easy to take out. So what I wanted to do was get an improved backdrop that would be semi-disposable, and I got a huge roll. I mean, it was like the smallest roll I could get, but it's an enormous roll of photographic white backdrop paper. And that way, once I have a sheet out for several, photo shoots, and it gets damaged, destroyed, creased, stained, whatever, I can crumple it up, throw it away, tear off a fresh sheet. There are more expensive options for backdrops, but I wanted to get something that would not be too wide, as my workbench and normally my shooting area is not huge. I don't need to do full-scale pulled back portraits of people. So I believe the roll I got was 53 inches wide, which was just about going to fit here on my workbench. This is my elegant photo shooting area. But in any case, it just fits, and it should work well for this environment. So that is what I'm now using for my white backdrop. For recording audio, I ended up getting the Sony ICD UX533 digital voice recorder. Now, I did a lot of research on digital voice recorders, and the reason I ended up with this one, as it seemed like it would fit my needs, and I bought a used one for about $50 on Amazon, and that was a really good price. Looking back at it, however, I think I would have spent the extra money for a Zoom H1, as the Zoom H1 actually powers the output, I should say it powers the input, I believe, to the lavalier mic. We'll talk about it in a second. So without that input power, I was restricted to a lavalier mic that has its own battery source and that has its own problems. I would recommend the Zoom H1, but I got this one used for $50. It's a slightly older model, and I think it's going to work all right for my purposes. That leads me to the mic I'm now using. I have a lavalier mic. This is a lapel mic. One of the things that you should not do, which I've been doing, but partly because I just was using old gear and was kind of working with what I have, was use the camera's microphone. The camera's microphone is usually very tinny, and especially when you're back away from it, it's very very unpleasant to listen to. And in fact, if you go back to any of my previous videos before this one, you'll hear that when I do a close-up, right, I'm up close against the mic of the camera, it sounds a lot better. And then when I'm shooting the opening and the closing, the camera's really far away. It's a very distant, echoey, tinny sound. So I decided to look into a couple different mic options, and I originally thought about going with a shotgun mic, which is a large sort of condenser mic. Looks like a bit of a rod. You mount it to your camera, and it directionally pulls in audio from a small section of the room or in front of the camera. I actually bought one, and when I hooked it up to the camera, I was trying to get an Optica V100 maybe, and they sent me a different model that was slightly cheaper and wasn't labeled as an Optica V100. VM100, I think. Anyway, when I plugged that into the camera, it played haywire with the camera. I actually thought my camera was defective, and after I unplugged it and actually turned my camera back on, I realized my camera was fine. So I had to return that, and when I returned it, I realized maybe a shotgun mic isn't right, because just the little testing I did, I realized that sometimes when I come over to look at a piece and face this way, I'd have to actually move the shotgun mic around to face me, and since the camera's facing this way and the shotgun mic is facing this way, I'll be on the side of the mic. It's not a very good arrangement for the kinds of videos I do. So I ended up thinking really what I should get is a lavalier mic. So this is a little clip-on mic, and that way it's always the same distance from my mouth no matter where I go within the, the workshop. If I go over to take a look at the Cliff project, which is away from my workbench, I'm still mic'd the same no matter where I am. The lavalier mic that I ended up purchasing is the Audio-Technica ATR 3550. This is a very popular mic, partly because it's really cheap. This mic was about 20 bucks, and I was very hesitant about buying it, partly because I didn't want to get the bottom of the barrel in sound quality, and I didn't want to get one that had an external battery, because I was like, oh god, I have to deal with a battery, and what happens when that runs out, and people were saying that the extra long cord creates interference, and it doesn't give you a clean signal, and blah, 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 blah. So I spent like 14 hours looking at lavalier mics, and then in the end I realized I couldn't use a lot of them with my Sony recorder because it doesn't put out power, and so I ended up going with the very first mic that I saw online. Anyway, I saw another review that showed its quality against a more expensive mic, the Rode lavalier mic, and the sound quality sounded really, really close. And so I decided that's close enough for me. So that's what I picked up, and that's what I'm using right now. Lastly, just a quick mention, probably the creme de la creme of this entire setup is the new camera. I am using a Canon T5i with the 18 to 55 millimeter IS STM lens. Now the STM lens is a silent auto-focusing lens, so that when you're shooting video you don't hear the motor cranking, and the IS is for image stabilization. This is the sort of stock option that comes with the Canon T5i, and for those of you who are wondering, T5i, T4i, if you pay attention to these things, I know there's no big price difference between or no big quality difference between the two, but there is a bit of a price difference for not much of a reason never explained by Canon. But I got the camera and the lens reconditioned from the Canon website for a significant discount, and so I was fine to go with the T5i. So that is the lens that I'm currently using, and I was concerned about doing macro shots with it and comparing it to my A620, which does a PowerShot A620, which does incredible macro shots really for a very old camera. I realized that this does not have the right focal length for it, although this is the shortest focal length of the lenses that came with the Canon as a stock option. So what I ended up doing is I ended up purchasing the Vello, or Vello, I don't know how they pronounce it, auto extension tubes for macro. These are auto-focusing extension tubes, and you add them to the back of the camera to push the lens forward so you can do macro photography. When I set them all up on the camera for a very quick shot, and I took a look at the, I just had them all stacked, maximum magnification, threw it on the lens, and I was like, whoa, that's way too much. I mean, it was like I could see the pores in foam there, and they were like this big. So clearly these are going to cover all of my needs, and I can use the lowest magnification value for typical kinds of shots that I might be doing for my actual terrain pieces. So that is the gear end of it. On the software side, for video editing, I'm currently using Sony Vegas 12. Sony Vegas 12 is a really impressive piece of software. I used to use Cyberlink PowerDirector 11, but I have had some problems with PowerDirector over time. Sometimes I've had issues where I couldn't uninstall it. There were issues ways back with activating it. And they say their customer support is terrible, but from what I read, everybody's customer support for video editing is terrible, so whatever. So I ended up going with Sony Vegas, which is pretty impressive, and I haven't really even tapped into all of its possibilities yet. So we'll see as time goes on what kinds of video additions I can create with it. For my photo editing software, I'm using Corel's Paint Shop Pro X3. This is a very modestly priced photo editing software, and it does all the things that I need it to do: crop, color shifts, sharpening. I just do the basics for most of my photos, and I can insert text and that sort of idea. It's fairly friendly, and it's not Photoshop, but it gets the job done for the most part. I recommend it if you're looking for something that I think I paid like $60 for it, so it's a bargain. And lastly, for audio editing, I'm using Audacity. Audacity is a free online, well, not online, but a free audio editing software program. And actually, I was playing around with it with the new mic and the new sounds earlier. I haven't done a lot of audio editing in the past, at least for my videos, and I thought it was time, if I'm going to step up with everything, to just take a quick peek at it. And playing around with it, I think I was actually making the sound worse. So I will probably be playing with that over the next couple months and seeing if I can tweak the quality of the sound just a little bit more. So that gives you a total rundown of everything that I'm using, and hopefully if you are interested in video production for your own YouTube videos, you'll find some of this helpful. And that wraps up that segment of the video. So let's take a few minutes and take a look at the drawing. And for the drawing, what I've done, and we'll scroll the names here. I took everybody's name and I entered it into a top hat with just their first initial and their last name, so that way everybody's going to stay nice and anonymous. And I entered them the number of times they purchased tickets, and the list you are seeing here is in chronological order, with the first name that went by as the first ticket purchase and the last one as the last ticket purchase. So all of these are going to get dumped into Top Hat, which is a free randomizer online, and we'll pull the name from that right now. All right, and so to do the drawing, here's something else I'm using now. I'm going to give it a try for a little while, and we'll see how it works out. I'm going to use Cam Studio. This is an open source free screen recording program, and I wanted to be able to start doing some recording of pictures when I'm talking about them in my videos, so I thought I would play around with Cam Studio and see if that might fit the bill. But I thought rather than bringing the camera over and shooting a picture of the screen, it'd be better to do the screen capture directly, and so this is what I'm giving it a go at here today. So here you can see all of the names that I scrolled through, and here's an odd thing. There's 139 names, and I actually just went through and double-checked every single name in my PayPal account to make sure that they were all right, and they are all right, except C. Lyons is supposed to be up a little further in the list. I was glad I caught Mr. Lyons rather than have him get eliminated from the draw, but I don't know why there's 139 names. There's supposed to be 130. I did have that hiccup initially when I set up the PayPal button, and so maybe that is what is causing the problem there. But I just want to thank everybody, including some of the extras that got in, as I discovered that PayPal is taking 50 cents of every $5, probably because it's a higher interest or payment, what's the word I'm looking for? Higher fee at those small levels. So if the extra people don't mind contributing to a slightly larger draw, that helped to offset some of those PayPal fees. All right, well, that's enough. We should just do the drawing. So this is the hat. It's a random generator. When I hit the hat, it'll shuffle them, and when I hit the hat again, it will stop shuffling them. Oh, shuffle. Here we go. So we'll let those shuffle. And we'll stop it here. So, Jay Salas is the winner of the terrain, and I will be giving Jay Salas a contact via the email that was provided via PayPal, and we'll get that shipped out right away. So that wraps up this. Then the drawing, the explanation of the gear. If anybody has any questions about any of the things that I've talked about, of course, you can always leave questions and comments down below. I will, as a final added addition, say that I have been looking for an alternative way to handle comments. I don't like the new YouTube comment setup with Google+. I find it a bit annoying, and I've been able to manage it pretty well. I don't like it, but I'm able to manage it. But if somebody has an important comment and I miss it, you know, after like 2 weeks or something, if you don't see me respond to it, you know, don't be afraid to send me either a private message through YouTube, or you could email me at mike@TerranScapes.com, and I will make sure to address whatever question you may have. I think I've been catching everybody's comments, but I've been looking at alternatives, and they're limited and not that really good. So, like all of us in YouTube, we're stuck here. And I was saying to somebody else, I don't think the objection is so much with the Google Plus integration as much as the monopoly that we all operate under. So, anybody out there who wants to start their own video channel with a better comment system, maybe we could get some shuffling. But barring that, hopefully you'll come back and see me again here on YouTube. And keep your eye on the channel for another video. I have done a lot of work on the Cliff project. It is all I am doing since I wake up in the morning until I go to bed at night. So a lot's been done, and I'll be shooting that video within the next day or two. So hopefully you'll take a moment and come back and join me for that. And until then, I'll see you soon.